Hello again, I am Blunty. Decided to make a video about the new iPhone announcements. Haven't done one of these in a few years, I think. Not because I haven't been particularly excited about the past upgrades to the iPhone lineup, just because I normally say what I want to say on Twitter. But this time I just felt like making a video because I'm a little bit more excited about this one than I have been over the last few years. Now, don't get me wrong. My iPhone XS Max here I've got here, really appreciate it. It's been a fantastic tool. Use the camera all the time. You have probably no idea how often you see shots from this camera in my videos here, because there are ways of shooting with these things with apps like Filmic Pro, and we'll circle back to that, that can make this blend basically seamlessly with much fancier dedicated cameras like the old GH5 I got sitting on the desk back there. If you've only come to this video, let's take a side note. If you've only come to this video to try and bait reactions out of the old Android versus Apple kind of fan war, go elsewhere. You're not welcome here. It's not interesting. Nothing anybody's ever said about that particular war back and forth has been fresh, interesting, new, or insightful in years, and I'm kind of bored by seeing the same stuff just vomited up and rabbited up and parroted up over and over and over again. It's boring. You're boring. Find a new way to spend your days. And I don't want to sort of get into a whole video about how I justify why I'm using this instead of one of the other phones out there that perhaps have better technical camera modules or whatever. Just take it as read. I'm a guy who has been producing video content for longer than YouTube has even existed. So you can kind of assume that I know what I like, how I shoot, what suits me how I shoot, and what kind of tools I like to use and why I like to use them. And it's more than just about the pure raw camera performance that matters when it comes to the entire production workflow, when it comes to making stuff. So let's leave it at that. I'm not interested in having that argument either. Now that we've got those useless disclaimers out of the way, which will stop nobody from having pedantic little whiny wars in the comment section. By the way, please comment, like, and subscribe, because I shouldn't warn people off commenting, because the more people comment, the better it is for the algorithm. So go ahead, have your stupid Android versus Apple fanboy war in my comments, sure. But now to the point of the video, the content of the video. I'm pretty excited about the upgrades to the new iPhone, the iPhone 11 Max, which will be the one I will be getting. I've already made up my mind. This was an easy one to convince myself into buying. And I have owned actually every generation of iPhone since there were iPhones, even the very first iPhone, which they never actually sold in Australia. But I did a promotional thing for someone who was importing them into Australia, and they gave me one as payment for that promotional video. So I had the original iPhone, even though they never sold it in Australia. If you want to use that as ammunition to call me an Apple fanboy, then so be it. But I bring you back to the point at the beginning of the video. I know why I use it, and I'm quite happy with the choice. Have we got to the point yet? No, we haven't. Rambling again. Should have wrote a script. So the reasons I'm very excited about the iPhone 11 Max, and I have to slow down every time I say that because I'm so used to saying XS Max. It just rolls off the tongue. Isn't it XS Max or XS Max, however you want to say it? But now you have to say 11 Max. There's no S. There's no R. Is it even tennis? I don't, just the naming. They've simplified it. They got rid of the R's and the S's and thing. It's just iPhone 11 and iPhone 11 Pro. Have I been saying Max this whole time? I meant Pro. So they brought it in line with their branding for the iPads, basically. You got the regular iPads for the normal people, and you got the Pro stuff for the people who want to spend more to get a few extra bells and whistles. And it's those extra bells and whistles I'm interested in. The standard version of the 11 ditched the telephoto lens in favor of an ultra-wide-angle lens. So you've got a wide-angle and an ultra-wide-angle now, which I feel like they should have done long ago, because I could have told you that more people were going to use a wide-angle than a telephoto when it comes to how regular people tend to shoot, because regular people tend to take a lot of selfies. And wide angle is better for selfies because you can get more people in and more context in of the stuff around you. So it's smart they've done that. And I know they're not first to put an ultra wide angle on a phone. Other companies have done that before. It doesn't matter who's first. It just matters if the tool is good to use. Settle down. Or have your arguments in the comments and up my algorithm score. But I do know the way I shoot, I do use wide angle lenses way more often than I do use telephoto lenses. And even the standard wide angle on phones, which has been the sort of 21mm in full frame field of view terms, it's wide, but it's never quite wide enough for some of the stuff I do. I like having it. It's a good focal length to use, but I have often found myself wanting to be wider, which is why for years I've been using and buying and trying different kinds of, clip-on wide angle lenses, and I've reviewed probably a dozen or more of them at this point. I just did one the other day, which is a special anamorphic wide angle lenses. I just 2 days ago, I reviewed one of those because I do appreciate that wide angle field of view. In the what, the whys, and the hows I tend to shoot stuff, I really appreciate having the wide angle thing. Now it's built in, so I don't have to carry around clip-on lenses. I don't have to worry about the drop in image quality of going through extra layers of glass or getting it perfectly aligned or dealing with the different kinds of cases and clips and stuff you have to deal with to get those things on. It's just I can use the phone raw and get that. And with the Pro version, I nearly said Max, with the Pro version of the iPhone 11, you've still got the telephoto. So you've got the regular wide angle, ultra wide angle, and telephoto. And what Apple are doing most interestingly, that I don't think any Android phone does this yet, but they computationally blend them together in a way we can switch them live, and it basically looks like it's just sort of zooming out. I mean, there's a little flaw in there. If you watch the presentation, you can see it sort of judder between cameras slightly. So shooting with video like that, maybe not the ideal thing, but being able to just instantly switch between them, zip, 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 like that, is an incredibly powerful tool. And having all that happen seamlessly, so you don't have to sort of manually switch between the lenses and have it blank out and then switch the lens and then boot up the camera. They're all running at the same time. They're all blending at the same time. They can do very clever stuff with that, including the sort of portrait mode stuff where they use one camera to take the picture and the other camera to sort of sense where the depth kind of stuff is. They can blur out the background and get that, you know, studio effect, whether it just goes white or black, and all that kind of stuff is really fun and interesting and useful. And it's a really fun toy box to have, but the raw essentials of just having that kind of power is very enticing. And one of the things that just blew my friggin' mind in during the presentation is they got the guys from Filmic, which you've heard me recommend this app before. It's an incredibly powerful, like the most powerful videography app that you can get on your iPhone. And you Android users, it is available for you too. It's not quite as powerful there because there's so many different kinds of hardware to account for. But it's incredibly powerful in the way you can control what you're doing and how you're doing it, and the resolution and the aspect ratio and the frame rates and the audio. And you can even shoot flat picture profiles, like computational, but damn close to properly native flat picture profiles for the color grading and all that kind of fantastically powerful stuff. And now they're bringing out a new version that goes along with the new cameras and new processor, the new much more powerful processor in the new iPhone, to shoot two cameras at the same time. I do this all the time using two separate cameras. Shooting with two cameras at the same time on one take gets you a ton of flexibility. And I've asked the Filmic guys on Twitter. They haven't had time to get back to me yet because I literally just 5 minutes ago, and they made the announcement like an hour ago. But if we can do those two separate cameras, and it can be two of the front ones, or one of the front ones and one of the back, one of the front ones and one of the back ones at the same time, so you can do a dual-sided thing. So you can have two talent on either side of the camera and have two completely separate shots recorded at the same time for a sort of interview style thing or whatever. It's incredibly powerful. And if we can do that at 4K, even 4K 60 simultaneously, and I don't know whether we've got enough power to do that. I've asked them about it, but even if it's just 4K 30 or even 1080, I would prefer it to be both 4K, because if you can do two different cameras at 4K at the same time and you're going into a 1080p production, that means you've got 4 camera angles at the same time, because you can crop into a 4K, obviously, which is another thing I do all the time to get, two shots out of a single camera shot. I may have even been doing it during this video because I'm shooting this in 4K, but publishing it 1080. Let's do it now, just to show you. Close up, wide shot, or mid shot, really. But that kind of stuff is wildly powerful, and it opens up so many doors when it comes to the kinds of stuff you can shoot easily with your phone. And it's just, my mind is spinning with the possibilities. It would save me so much time and effort in a lot of different things I do. A couple of the other nice upgrades we've got is 4K 60 on the front camera. I don't use my front camera all that much, but I do use it from time to time. And back when they first went to 1080p on the front camera instead of 720, it became incredibly useful because suddenly you could actually use that in proper productions. And now we're getting the next step up and having a 4K 60 camera on the front as well. Not only that, but we've got slow motion ability on the front as well. And they showed a really interesting demo of this with someone sort of taking a selfie with their little brother with a blow dryer, blowing the hair all dramatically to get that slow-mo, girls' hair in slow motion always, not so much my hair in slow motion, what there's left of it, it's thinning out. But girls' hair in slow motion always looks lovely and dramatic, and that's kind of a cool thing to be able to do on the front-facing camera as well for you sort of Instagram type of people, I suppose. They've got a couple of different kinds of computational photography. They've got, what are they called? Deep fusion? Deep fusion. Where's my notes? Deep fusion, computational blending, where they take kind of what they do already with live photos, in that the camera is kind of rolling even before you press the shutter button, but as soon as you press the shutter button, it gives you a selection of pictures to choose from. Well, now it does that, but it also, using computational tricks, sort of smooshes those together into one more perfect image. So it takes the best out of several shots, smooshes them together for a clearer, crisper, cleaner image. And that's kind of interesting as well. They use the same kind of thing for a new night shot mode as well. And I know they're not the first to do this. Well, guess what? No phone company is the first to do this. This feature has been on proper cameras for a few years now. Just ask any Panasonic shooter, or Olympic shooter, actually. They were one of the first to introduce it with their long exposure mode kind of stuff, where they did the stacking thing. So before you go into your Android versus iPhone thing, oh, Android did it first, Apple are just copying. No, Android were copying the actual camera manufacturers, just for fact's sake. They're fanboys. But yeah, a better night shot mode is always welcome, because again, when you're shooting with your phone, very often you're not carrying a bunch of support gear with you, including, I mean, I usually have at least a small light with me, a little LED light panel of some kind. I usually have one of those in my bag. I don't know where mine is at the moment. I seem to have lost it last time I traveled. Might have to buy a new one. But most people don't. So having better ability to take shots at night, so if you're in the pub with your friends or something, you want that selfie, you got the wide angle lens, you got the new night shot, all that's sort of very, very welcome, and gives you another level of flexibility and power to your shots all over again. So yeah, the whole combination with the new hardware, the new processor, with a lot more power to do a lot more tricky stuff like Filmic are taking advantage of, the 3 cameras instead of the 2 cameras, so you get an ultra wide angle now, which is extremely welcome. The 4K on the front, the slow-mo on the front, just all this extra power makes it kind of a no-brainer for me to upgrade. Very often with the iPhone upgrades, and I've got every iPhone, like I said before, but sometimes I kind of have to talk myself into it. And usually it comes down to, well, the cameras are a little bit better, and also because I tend to review some, iPhone photography stuff from time to time, it's probably useful to have the latest version anyway, because, what if an accessory comes out for that particular model and I don't have the newest model? Oh, it'll be a bit embarrassing. It's all self-justification because I'm a tech whore and I like having the new toys. This time around, though, it's not just a new toy thing. The changes they've made to the camera, the additions they've made to the camera, and the power and the ability and what it does will make a significant and noticeable and sort of legitimate difference in what I'm able to do when I am shooting with my phone, either as a primary device or as a backup secondary device as well, because I often do that. Shoot B-roll with the phone and use a proper camera for the main stuff, the A-roll. We don't tend to use the term A-roll that much, do we? You're probably used to hearing B-roll, because all your favorite vloggers are always like, oh, it's B-roll time, and then they do the non-content stuff that's just got pretty pictures. I tend not to do that too often. I like just delivering information as fast as possible, as often as possible, as dense as possible. Some people don't appreciate that. I do. Got off the track a bit there. I do also appreciate the new design, the new camera lump. If we have to deal with a camera lump, and that's what I'm calling it, this camera lump. If we have to, I don't like that. It hasn't been a problem, really. Like the lenses standing proud hasn't made them more prone to being scratched or anything. These are still perfect. But if we have to deal with the lump, just for the sake of, having the body feel smaller and slimmer, which apparently is a thing people want, I would rather just have a thicker body with a bigger battery in it. Thank you very much. Did I accidentally turn on the light there? But if we have to deal with a slimmer body and still accommodate the cameras, the camera lump in the Pro in particular does look kind of nice. The way they've blended the materials, the way it has a sort of depth look to it because of the glass surround and everything. Looks really nice. Looks better on the Pro than it does on the standard model. Although the new colors for the standard model look really attractive too. Not sure about the new green. What do they call it? Forest green or space green or whatever they bloody called their special green color for the new Max Pro extra special super duper model. Pro. What color are you going to get? Are you going to upgrade? Are you happy with where you are? What are you using at the moment? Do you shoot much on your iPhone? Are you enticed by the new camera features in particular? I mean, there is other stuff I like about the iPhone 11 Pro. Did it again. There is other stuff I like too, but I have to be honest with you. It is mostly the camera upgrades, because aside from being, the standard communication device, web browsing, twittering, emailing, all that kind of stuff we all do on our phones, this is a legitimate production tool that I have relied on and used extensively in making content that, helps me keep a roof over my head, for example. So investing in more powerful tools is not a hard thing to justify. So there you are. That's my thoughts on the new Apple iPhone 11 Pro. Got it right once. Count it. Thanks for watching. I'm Blunty. We'll catch you next time. Do the thing where you subscribe and comment and stuff. And